Alright, this is the video I was talking about. And hopefully this isn't zoomed in too much. This is taking up a lot of frame. So we'll see how this works. But this is my Militech Vindicator that I 3D printed. This is, yeah, it's probably one of the coolest things I've ever done. It's a case I made for it. This is a storm case. This is some closed cell foam that I was able to get from work. It's just garbage foam. This was a bit of a pain in the ass. This is gonna get, the whole thing is gonna get lined in felt because this stuff can be pretty abrasive, and even though I've clear coated this, I don't want it eating away at the paint. So maybe I'll do a video on this once it's done. As you can see, I tried poorly to paint the Militech logo on there and it didn't work out well. So this is my 3D printed Militech Vindicator. It's probably one of the coolest things I've ever made. The 3D file I got from 3D Workbench when I was one of his patrons. I recently had to stop being a patron for him. If you get a chance, go be a patron. He does amazing stuff. If you ever wanted a 3D printed Wingman or Flatline or G2A5 from Titanfall, he's the guy to go see. You want a 3D printed Widowmaker rifle from Overwatch, he's the guy to go see. Yeah, so this thing is beautiful. Some of you know I'm super obsessed with the game that's coming out, Cyberpunk 2077, and when they dropped the trailer last August showing the 48 minutes of gameplay footage, this was the pistol that they featured in the video. He, within probably, I don't know, I want to say 2 weeks of that coming out, I think he had this up. It might have been longer than that, but he 3D modeled this and then created STL files based off that 3D render super fast. And I was already a Patreon at that point. He did a, I found him because he had done a 3D print of the Blade Runner 2077 pistol. This is not his. This is actually one I bought off Etsy. I was super stoked about that movie. I love Blade Runner. Basically anything cyberpunk is my jam. But this one I found somebody on Etsy had made, and I was like, oh, that looks super good. And I actually thought that this handle was relatively accurate till I got it. Whoever that guy, I'm not going to link to him because the quality on this is it's okay, but it could be better. This was printed as 2 halves, and it glued up, and it had a lot of mushing at the where the 2 halves met that required a lot of cleanup. This is nowhere near done. I'm actually using this as a test piece to test out painting techniques and screw around with different things. The biggest issue with this is the grip is too small. It's hard to see here. This is my hand. It's actually not even that the grip's it's too small, but it's also really uncomfortable with how angular it is. I recently hit this section with a bunch of sanding blocks to kind of smooth it out, and it rounded out, but these facets were exceptionally sharp when I got them. Not sharp enough to cut, but sharp enough that they dug into your hands. Same along here. This is just too sharp. This actually needs to be much more rounded, and it needs to be about that much longer, about an inch or so, half inch, 3/8 of an inch longer. Yeah, about half inch, 3/8 of an inch longer from this point. Basically everything here up I like. The rest of it is comfortable. It's just basically this section of the grip. You can see that my pinky does not fit in there, and it should. So really, if this is extended just a hair, and this needs to be a little bit more rounded. This really digs into my ring finger there. But yeah, the trigger is not a functional trigger. Like I said, these were 2 pieces, 2 clamshells that I glued together, and this is going to be my test paint. But I had found someone doing a review of one that was made multi-part, and that was 3D Workbench. And I plan on printing that one soon. When this came out, I got way more excited about this than about the other one. I share a 3D printer with my roommate. You can see it there. We actually have two. One of them is not currently working. We're not sure why. And at some point, I'm gonna have to save my pennies for getting my own, because I would like to be able to 3D print some more stuff. I'm teaching myself Fusion 360. Yeah, I plan on doing a tactical version of this pistol, using his model as a base. Basically a suppressor, reflex sight, maybe some kind of lower laser attachment, and an extended magazine. So here's the cool part about this one. Not only does the magazine's removable. I'm not done with the magazine. This had actually initially gotten stuck inside here because I'd used it to support everything when I glued it together and get a good fitment on all the sides, because these are two halves that you print separate and then glue together. But so it's got that. It's got this bullet is actually a separate piece. You can actually pull out, and it prints. As you can see, I had left it in there at one point printing while painting, and it got a little black on it. So this guy needs to get repainted. I've flipped it over so that it looks pretty when you pull it out. But also, this is not functional in the extent of being able to shoot anything, but it has moving parts. Now, the big thing for when 3D Workbench designed this is you should be able to cock this back like so, and then it'll lock open. Unfortunately, because I chose to use a tension spring in there, I don't even know if that's going to show up with the amount of light that gets in there, but I used a tension spring. It doesn't lock back, but it's got a much crisper pull than when I tried to do a rubber band with it. I did make it so that if I wanted to, I could change that out. This little back part, he suggests you glue in place when you use the rubber band. I just slapped a little magnet on there since I'm using a piece of wire to attach the spring. It's a section of steel wire. It's magnetic, so I just popped that on there and it doesn't want to come off. It's got a hollow barrel that goes hollow all the way down, but there's no way to modify it to shoot. I don't know if that's going to show up. Let me turn on another light and see if that'll maybe show up on camera. It probably won't, but this dead ends right there. It's really all for show. I did screw up on some parts I realized after the fact. These parts are actually supposed to be up here, and these parts are supposed to be down here. Don't know if anybody noticed, but my camera cut out. It overheats. It's just a little Sony Alpha 5100. So I'm also getting over a bit of a cold, so pardon the clearing of the throat. But yeah, so I screwed up where these two parts are supposed to go. They're supposed to be switched, but I kind of like it. It gives a little bit more textile feed that I like. When you pull the trigger, it's supposed to close the slide. And while the trigger moves, it's not an important part for me to have a prop that has a functional trigger, especially in the case that this is a static prop. There's some little additions that I'm waiting on to come in that I'm going to add to this. If you can see, let's see if I can get this to come in close. There's some holes here, and there's one up here. I'm going to be inserting fluorescent day-glow rods. I have to finish drilling the holes because it needs to go all the way through, but basically giving it fiber optic sights so that light will pass through and then they'll light up and glow, which is it's cool. It's actually a truly functional thing. In the game trailer, there's actually a little divot here that glows and matches up with this front notch that glows. But I couldn't think of an easy way to make that happen. Unfortunately, I could only find fluorescent green rod in 1/16 of an inch, and this notch here is much smaller than a 1/16 of an inch. It's probably maybe a millimeter, if that. It's probably smaller than that. But yeah, I painted mine up to kind of resemble the firearm company Salient Arms kind of style of doing things. So it's got like a gold back strap back here, which is actually more indicative of the Evike SAI Blue. I don't believe Salient actually does a gold back strap on their Glock pistols, but I like the look of it. I did a gold chamber, a gold barrel. Everything's painted with Tamiya paints. The black is Tamiya Flat Black, which is XF1. That's easy to remember. The red is their Gloss Red, but I've hit everything with a matte coat, so that's why that's not a high gloss. The silver up here is actually, it's called Burnt Titanium, I believe. Where is it? Where is it? I'm sitting at my desk with all the paints. Oh, it's right in front of me. Oh, Titanium Silver. Yeah, it's this stuff. It's the X32 Titanium Silver. And then these parts were actually painted in the Titanium Silver, and then I used the Tamiya Black wash over it. I was trying to get the serial number stuff to pop up. It did not print the super fine serial numbers very well. It's hard to see. These didn't print out very well. The fidelity's pretty bad. I tried putting black in there, kind of to oil it up and give it a little bit more tarnish, but also to try and make those numbers pop. The Militech on this actually did fairly well. I was actually kind of surprised. Even though in the game it actually, like, the pistol says Militech on the side, but when you pick it up in the game, it actually, or in the gameplay trailer, it actually says something else. It's still called a Vindicator 9mm, but it's actually called, it's made by a different company, even though it says Militech. So my guess would be maybe Militech's kind of like Salient, and they do customizations on the base gun. The 9mm on the chamber also, like, it's supposed to be, say, 9mm right there. It's real hard to see on camera, but that did not, the fidelity on that didn't print very well. Like, it's okay, but it's not great. It's definitely better than the serial numbers. But yeah, I really wanted to try and replicate that Salient kind of feel to this, so that I could kind of get that vibe. But yeah, I'm really digging it. The coating is holding up well. I got a little impatient when I was putting this together, so I didn't do as good of a job getting rid of print lines. You can really see it on this side if you look close, especially here on this kind of compensator part. Like, you can really see the lines here. This side looks much better. You don't see the lines as much. They're still there, but they're much harder to see. I do plan on printing at least 2 or 3 more of these and improving my technique. This is just number 1. Like I said, I got impatient. I really wanted to print this. I did it again. So real quick to sum up. 3D printed file by 3D Workbench. I printed and painted it. Nothing really fancy there. It's cool. I like it. I'm gonna make more. No, I cannot sell these. I didn't make the file. I'm not going to steal that from Yuri. His name is spelled J-U-R-I. Comment below. Let me know how to actually pronounce that. But I'm not gonna steal that credit from 3D Workbench. He did a really good job with these. I plan on printing his version of the 2049 Blade Runner Blaster soon. I found some other stuff I really want to print. And I recently picked up some fluorescent acrylic to work on. I'm teaching myself both Fusion 360 and how to use Illustrator type programs. I'll put up some photos on my Instagram showing you guys the size on my cutting mat here, so that you can get a good feel for the dimensions of it. Just that way you actually have a good idea of what's going on. Alright, thanks. This is my second video for today. I need to start editing. At some point I will try and get B-roll of this too, and show you guys what it looks like. Have a week.